What's the biggest bullet you've dodged in your life? I was born in 1986 in Houston, Texas. My parents both served in the armed forces and my father met my mother because he was her drill instructor. While she was in basic training, she had a guy forced himself onto her, and the guy disappeared. My dad had it from people so that she could graduate. He signed the birth certificate and accepted this kid as his own. They liked to party, they liked to have fun, that's why they got along. I guess my mom had depression issues all the time growing up, which I later found out was because she was a product of forced intimacy. Fast forward, dad is out at work. My mom calls him to ask if he needs anything from the supermarket and tells him that the neighbors have the kids while she goes to shop. Says love you and goodbye, hangs up, walks into the closet, puts a firearm to her chest and takes her life. Neighbor heard the shot, the one that was watching us, finds her, calls dad and 911. Dad is an emotional wreck. He's got 2 kids to take care of. One isn't his, but he's been there since her birth. Fast forward, we now live in South Carolina. My dad meets a girl at work and she offers to help watch kids sometimes. Later I became my stepmom. Hurricane hits one day while dad is on base and we're in the trailer. Took shelter in the bathtub with a mattress over us 3. The house was done, everything soaked, trailer wall split, roof torn. The trailer that we lived in off the military base was destroyed. We lost everything, then had to live in hotels for a little while. Fast forward, we moved to Louisiana. Dad has a duty station change, so I'm living out there in the boondocks. The Red River Bayou runs through the backyard literally. The neighborhood kids are a little bit older than me, but they still let me hang out. They introduce me to cigarettes and stealing, which lead to cursing and lying. I'm only 7 years old. Late at night, dad likes to use his satellite reception to get an illegal TV channel that is basically corn. Late one night I decided to hide underneath the dining room table to scare my dad, jump out and surprise him before I went to bed. I was a playful kid. Well, I saw what dad was watching on TV and it got me curious about stuff. Let's say I didn't jump out and scare him. I had to wait the entire hour until he went to bed. Fast forward. Dad catches me messing around with the neighborhood girls. I get a whooping out of me, go to school, same stuff happens. I'm taking taekwondo, fighting kids, girls wanting to experiment. I'm getting caught constantly on the playground or nap time, or on the bus, always in trouble. In Louisiana, corporate punishment is legal, so the assistant principal would hit you with a paddle, send you to the principal who would hurt you with a huge cricket bat. The flood of like 1993 hits and we lose the house and everything inside it once again and have to stay in hotels. The family is just constantly stressed out and I'm just always getting hurt and grounded. Then my stepmom would do evil things to test me and say you failed the test. I was going to unground you today, but since you didn't sweep the floor you're grounded for another month. She was evil. I went to counseling constantly. My parents thought I was a demon child. My father's original father was a coal miner in West Virginia. He would hurt my dad severely. Eventually my father ran away and his current family took him in. He doesn't know who his real dad is or where he is. My stepmother I think was a pretty good person until she met my dad, then probably got used to the aggressiveness, and then it just amplified every time she looked at me because I was not very Catholic-like and just a nasty boy with mental problems. The first time I threatened to run away was when we lived in Louisiana. My dad packed my little bags for me, drove me out into the middle of nowhere, dropped me off next to a bridge and told me that trolls live under the bridge, and coyotes are in those fields waiting to get you. Good luck. He drove away into the night for about an hour. He told me he parked far enough to where he could still see me but I couldn't see him. I just sat there and screamed and cried. I had no idea what to do or where to go. I felt helpless. I knew I needed my family to survive, so I started walking back home and he came and picked me up. The first attempt at self-deletion, I don't even know if you can call it an attempt. I got busted in Texas with a roll of quarters in my jacket. A kid had told me that I was buying all these things for people, and the teacher called me in, and the principal searched me and asked where it came from. I told them I took it from home. Well, they called my dad. Dad came to the school and picked me up and brought me back home. He started with the belt, the thick one. The worst one. He would ask me questions while doing it, and I'd tell him. Then he used his hand, just on my butt, then the wall, then the table, then finally the belt again. I was so hurt so badly, he laughed about it at dinner cause I had to stand to eat. I couldn't sleep from the pain. I don't know if it was the physical pain or the emotional, but it is a deep hurt, like a deep haunting hole inside of an even deeper hole and all you hear is your own wails inside your head. There wasn't any hope left. I came downstairs while dad was watching his late night TV. I told him I didn't want to live anymore. He went upstairs, came back down with something in his hand. He told me if I wanted to pass away then I was going to do it right there in front of him and I wasn't going to play any games. He put this python into my hand. My stepmother used to do some sort of security on the side and it was her issued revolver. The thing was so heavy, I'm talking unbelievably heavy. I'm a kid and this thing felt like I had a house in my hand. He told me to go ahead and put it under my chin because it's to make sure that it works. He cocked the hammer back for me. Every time he would pull his hand away the revolver would shake violently in my hands and he would steady it again. He said, "Your mother used to make these threats to me all the time. I don't want to miss this." I wanted to pull the trigger so badly because I already felt like I was at the end of the rope, but I swear I heard her telling me not to do it and not to give up. I told dad I was sorry. I stopped crying and went back to my room. Nothing changed after that, but we did move to Indiana. It was a fresh start for the whole family. Luckily the neighborhood that I grew up in was nothing but awesome kids. Picture the Sandlot times 2. It was epic. Most of the time I watched everybody play from the broken telescope from my window, but sometimes my dad would let me out so I could have a good time playing some sports, but if I didn't make it back as I promised I would get hurt again. I ran away a bunch after that. Eventually I joined the military, lost everything again, lost my career and my wife, then my sister passed away, then I got disowned from my family. Everybody thinks I mistreated my wife when it was reversed. That's been 8 years now. So my ex-wife is now a professional women's football league player, serving 4 years in the military after helping me lose my career.